Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to this junk journal flip through. The book that I've made that I'm about to share with you is one of my absolute favorites. It turned out so beautifully. The theme was a bit of a challenge because I made this as a gift for one of my best friends who told me that she loves the sea. So I kind of gave it a sea theme, which I love to do. I've made 2 mermaid themed journals in the past, but this is a little bit more subdued than those because her favorite color scheme is neutral. And if you're one of my regular viewers, if you've seen my other journals, you know that the color palette I kind of tend to work with is very bright, very busy. I love the kind of boho colors, like the deep tones, the jewel tones. Some might even refer to them as garish. Like I'm a color girl. I love my color. But I decided to challenge myself to make a book that's sea themed but mostly neutral. So there will be kind of pops of kind of teal and seafoam green like the trim here, just to keep with the theme. But I made this one mostly neutral. And yeah, so the first thing, the boho tassel is attached to the cover by this clip, and that way it can be easily removed when she wants to use her journal, and that kind of lightens the weight quite a bit and also makes it more portable. The cover, I think, turned out really cool. I kept the trims gold because to me, silver and gold are neutral. And the actual design, let me just pull the vintage lace bow open. So yeah, the closure is vintage lace that I've attached beneath this really pretty sequin trim that hides the spine. When that opens up, I put a layer of kind of a lightweight mesh in a very cool sandy color because that subdues the brightness of the cover image, which is just a piece of really beautiful sea-themed paper that came in a paper stack. So yeah, I decided to cover that with the mesh and with a wide strip of this lace so that it would look more neutral rather than bright blue and a pink sky. So because this is really nice paper texture, she can also use this whole space for journaling. And this is a little bit open, so she can use that as a tuck spot. So inside, she told me that she loves the play of different textures, so I tried to add as many nice crinkly pages and soft trims and just different tactile things as possible so that it's a feast for the senses. I don't know, do you guys get that ASMR effect from paper? Because if you do, this is some good crinkly stuff. That's just a paper doily that I coffee dyed with a stencil of a starfish. Here's the first charm. I think I put 3 charms on the edges of these pages, and this one is that really cute little clamshell with a pearl. Vegan friendly, of course, so it's a faux pearl. And because this is wrapped around the page, it creates a really cool tuck spot. And so I just slid a pretty piece of beachy blue paper underneath. She can use that as a journaling spot. I think I have to take off the paper clip to get that back in there. So yeah, I think like the pop of blue looks nice peeking through the edges of the doily, but not overwhelming the color palette. So the inside pocket is made with this piece of kind of woven trim. I decorated the inside cover just with some collage, and I put an assortment of nice textured paper. So that's some packing paper, There's a piece of paper with more coffee dyes and just the faintest little seahorse. There's a journaling card that's made with a little collage of lace bits and papers, and this really beautiful vintage wrapping paper that has some gold details and some cream-colored sea creatures. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting the tripod. This fun strip is just a leftover. It's a remnant from the cover image. And then this pretty piece I actually took out of a vintage issue of National Geographic, and I almost used that kind of tucked in here as part of the cover design because look at how pretty that is. But then I decided she may or may not want that in the cover, so I've left it loose. So if you're watching this after getting your book, here's an idea. You can just put a little bit of glue around the edges here and then tuck it under the trim. And that adds a little bit more visual interest to the cover and also kind of makes a pocket where you can put things. Anyhow, when I watch other people do junk journal videos, they have a tendency to, when they take things out of the pockets, they just put them aside off camera. And I've done that too to save time while filming. But I've noticed I get a little annoyed. Like I have almost crafter's OCD where I want to make sure things go back in the proper place. So I've decided to just pace myself, take my time, and put things back where they belong when I do little flip through videos like this. There's a vintage envelope I picked because of the ship stamps, and it's open so the back can be journaled on. Lots of different papers, different textures. There's more of that stunning vintage wrapping paper. I made this one myself by first I coffee dyed the paper, and then I mixed different shades of blue and green with a little bit of brown to neutralize the palette a bit, and then just stamped it on using a stencil. Some tracing paper, some wrapping paper with Ernst Haeckel's illustrations, and I just love that the kind of khaki color neutral lace matches the colors in that print. Some strips of coffee dyed stuff. I meant for this to be reminiscent kind of like a jellyfish. I think it turned out really cool, but that can be lifted up and she can journal on that wider strip as well as on the back. Just a little decoration with more of that wrapping paper. This is a fun page. That's actually a post-it note. So if you don't want it loose, you can glue it down. You can move it anywhere else in the book. This was the runner-up for the cover image. I felt like this one just looked a little bit more pretty because it matched the trim that I had a little more. But I decided to include this one anyway just because it's so gorgeous. This is a fun little cluster of paper strips. We've got some more vintage wrapping paper, more of that Ernst Haeckel design paper, some cool water droplets on the tape, and I just finished the little cluster by adding a teeny bit of this sequined trim, and I chose this one because it looks like a water drop is falling down. And this page is out of an illustrated kids book about sea life. So yeah, that's not really attached. I just kind of slipped it on and it holds itself in place quite nicely. More kind of neutral colored trim as a tab. Another coffee dyed paper doily. This paper has great texture. It's a linen paper, so it almost looks like a papyrus because of the creamy color and basket weave. Here's some handmade paper with little flower petals stuck in it. More coffee dyed paper with kind of a grayish lace. This was from my grandmom's collection. Every Sunday when I visit her, she has little things that she sets aside for me, like junk mail envelopes or pretty stamps that she gets on her letters, trimmings from her sewing projects, and I love including them in my journals. Some coffee dyed grid paper. More lace trim. Here's another charm. A pretty little starfish. It's an enameled starfish, and the neutral colors were perfect for this journal. And this is, I think, my favorite little charm that I made. It's meant to be reminiscent of a message in a bottle, like you might find washed up on the seashore. So it's coffee dyed paper. I inked the edges to make it look really aged and antique. And then I stuck it into this little charm and just pinned it onto the lace trim. So this page has some of the most special elements in the book, including this seashell. Now, maybe you can read what it says. I haven't been able to. I can see the first two words are in kind, Rian something, Fresix, friend. Anyway, this was actually in a Victorian book that I bought on eBay last year, a Victorian scrapbook, and it wasn't actually glued onto any of the pages. It looks like at one point it had been glued in and then fell out. It was just tucked into the back. But I thought the neutral colors and the fact that it's a seashell make it perfect for this book. There's just a sticky note. And then I stuffed this pocket with cool papers that are in that kind of blue, sea, and neutral color palette, so they can be journaled on, or she can use them for collage. A little snippet of vintage music paper. Here's a little sample of the actual scrapbook paper from that Victorian scrapbook. It's incredibly fragile. Like, as you can see, just going to put it back in the pocket, it's crumbling a little bit. So I couldn't actually fold it and bind it into a signature, because the moment you fold it, it breaks along the fold line. But it's cool to have. I find really ancient antique papers like this one. The scrapbook on the back, it says 1875. So like 150 years old paper. To me, that just has a historical quality that makes it feel like we're connecting to the crafters who came before us. I feel like the Victorian scrapbookers paved the way for my generation, our generation, I should say, of junk journal makers. And I think they would love to know that in the year 2022, even in an era where we have things like this iPhone that I'm recording from, where we have things like email and text, and we can just type a journal entry in a Word document on our laptops, I think those Victorian era ladies would love to know that we still choose to work with paper, and that some of their leftovers, like their unused pages, we still cherish those and use them in our own books. And so anyway, every little bit, I'm just going to leave it where it is. It's these little bits. I know some people would just throw it away, but that's the kind of thing, for example, I would glue here as a little decoration, or just to some random spot. I'm just going to tuck that in there. Because it can be used. And I love those teeny little details when I look at collages. So I made a pocket out of a cool little artist sketch of seagulls on a beach cliff. I added some packing paper into here for that texture and that nice crinkle. And this cool little card that came out of one of my auntie's craft stashes when she destashed. I made out like a bandit with all kinds of cool stuff she was getting rid of. And then it's just the other sides of these papers, coffee dyed, more tracing paper. This is the center signature. I almost glued down the edges here and here to make these into little pockets. but then I decided I'd leave it open so she can maybe journal on it. I think it would look really cool if this was journaled on and then the edges here were glued down, and then you'd see what was journaled on from the other side of the tracing paper. I don't know, just little ideas. So the center dangles, I put a piece of ocean jasper and some turquoise, because turquoise is the color of the sea. And then this one is turquoise with gold-plated lava rock and brass. Then we just have the other sides of all those papers. So this is a coffee-dyed piece of lace, and it's glued down in the center and on the sides. Oops, more cat hair. And so that can be used as a pocket. I should point out all the bracelets I'm wearing today are from my Etsy shop called The Art of Gems. I'll put a link to that in the video description. I decided to layer on all the ones that I think of as kind of beachy colors. And this little beaded ring is also from that shop. It's blue topaz with Herkimer diamond. Usually if I were to do a sea-themed journal, these are the colors I would have worked with, the bright brights. But I'm quite happy with how the neutrals look all layered together. So this page has a little piece tucked into here. This opens up. There's more of this beautiful National Geographic image of water birds. And then that opens up completely for journaling here. Sorry, it's kind of going out of the frame. The other side of that handmade paper, the linen paper, the doily, more of that pretty crocheted trim. On this page I had fun. I made an envelope. The little wax seal has a seahorse. This is a very heavy envelope because I trimmed it with some upholstery trim, and I put a pocket here. Oh no, that's fully glued down, so that's, oh no, it is. It's a bottom load pocket where she can hide something, kind of like a little secret hiding spot. And then this opens up here. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 pockets on this one little envelope. I think I watched a video by, I want to say Luna Rosu. She made a book of pockets, and I was inspired by her book of pockets to make a bunch of little pockets. So that's what I watched when I made this little piece to go in. And because of how heavy that trim is, it just holds it onto the page. But if she wants to lighten the book or make it more compact, more slim, this can just be taken out and used elsewhere or given away, whatever you want to do with it. I think this is one of my favorite pages, just as far as the aesthetic goes of mixing sea with neutral. I love collaging. And then as a little gift, I just tucked in a sheet of seashell stickers, so she can use those to decorate her book or play with them, give them to her niece and nephew maybe. Although I'll include some stickers for the kids. There's the other side of that. I love how this side of the paper turned out. There's the other side of that vintage envelope. And then the other side of the coffee dyed envelope. And I made a little tiny belly band and just tucked some blue papers into there. This is some vintage lace that I actually dyed myself by putting a piece of green paper on top of it and then coffee dyeing over that. So it's coffee dyed plus a little bit of that green seeped through, and I think that made it perfect for a sea-themed journal. And that takes us to the very back page. So in here, I've tucked some gold foil paper. It has such a cool texture, and she can just maybe make an envelope out of it, or use it for collage, or just keep it as it is. You know, sometimes when I get books like this myself, or when I make my own junk journals, any of the papers that I just want to hoard and keep as they are, I'll tuck into little tuck spots like this because they add visual interest. And that way I feel like I'm using my paper stash instead of just hoarding it. Another little strip booklet. And then the last thing, this I made for her as a little gift. I felt like it needed just a pop of bright blue as a little symbol of how I would normally approach this color theme. So this is genuine turquoise. It's just a little stretchy beaded ring. And I figure even though her favorite colors are nudes and neutrals, sometimes the best thing when we have a totally neutral palette is having just one little pop of color. And so I think that beachy colored blue turquoise is the perfect little pop of bright, bright color. So there it is, by the seashore. So of course this journal itself is spoken for, it's a gift, but if you ever see my flip through videos, or you check out my Etsy shop where I sell the journals I make, if you think you'd like something made by me with my sort of crafty style, but in a different color palette than I've worked with before, or with a slightly different theme, you're always welcome to send me a message and request a custom order. And if I'm able to do it, like I was able to do this one, beach but neutrals, I'll let you know and see if I can make something super special for you. So thank you again for watching. I should mention the music paper I've used as my backdrop here. I got so excited when I found this at the thrift shop. It's actually copyright 1935, so really beautiful antique music paper. And I'm about to do a listing in my Etsy shop of book pages for junk journal makers, and I got very generous and decided to give away some of this stuff in those packages. So if you're interested in making books like this one yourself, and maybe you want a little package of papers to get yourself started, check out that listing. The link to that Etsy shop is also in my video description. But for now, happy journaling, happy crafting. I hope this book inspires you to make something or get crafty. So much love to you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.